Captain America Brave New World is the fourth Captain America movie, the first to star Anthony Mackie in the lead role as his character Sam Wilson, who has now taken up the mantle of Captain America and is the 35th overall installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. After meeting with newly elected US President Thaddeus Ross, Sam finds himself in the middle of an international incident. He must discover the reason behind a nefarious global plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. There's been a lot that's been said about this movie already, and even the reviewers are saying that it's really one of Marvel's weakest ones, maybe Marvel's worst movie, as you've seen from the reviews. But even when Marvel is at their worst, I always find some entertainment in a Marvel movie. They really know how to just entertain you. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is my least favorite Marvel movie of all time, at least in the MCU. I think that there's a lot wrong with it, but once Kang enters the picture, that movie takes a complete step up. It feels like it just got like this power-up upgrade. And there's moments in Captain America Brave New World that are really good. There's also moments in Captain America, or good chunks of Captain America Brave New World, that are not so great. I'm split right down the middle, and like Quantumania, because that was the first one I was legitimately split right down the middle on. It wasn't slightly positive like I was with Iron Man 3 or Thor Love and Thunder or Thor the Dark World or Black Widow or the Marvels. Those I think have a lot wrong with them, but I'm not right down the middle on it. Brave New World, I'm right down the middle on. It's the second MCU movie that I feel that way, but I do think that there are good things in this movie, despite what everybody else is going to tell you, because apparently it's really fun to hate on the MCU nowadays. But let's get into those positives first. I really dug the last 45 minutes of this movie. I was having a grand old ball. I think this is fair game to talk about since it is in the trailer. It's not considered spoilers, and I will be doing a spoiler review, just so you know. Just throwing that out there right now. The Tiamat action sequence and Red Hulk versus Cap. Those last 45 minutes, I was having a grand old time. That's when the film was at its most entertaining. I think that Tiamat action sequence is the best action sequence in the entire movie. I was really looking forward to seeing Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross replacing the late great William Hurt just Hulk out into Red Hulk. If you are expecting a Red Hulk movie, you're going to be massively disappointed. It is only 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, which I was expecting going in, which is why I'm not disappointed by it. When it went down, it was awesome. Red Hulk was smashing and bashing everything, doing claps and Hulk smashes and things that I haven't seen from the Hulk in a long time, which is why I was really digging that part of the movie. But I think the Tiamat action sequence had probably the most energy that this entire movie had. And there's a couple of moments throughout the second half of this movie that I think have a lot of heart and a lot of soul to them. There's a scene in particular that I think is the best scene in the entire movie. It's one of Marvel's better scenes lately in a movie. There's some really great scenes like this in Deadpool and Wolverine towards the end. But before that, there really hasn't been, like, Quantumania didn't really have a scene like this. I'm not going to spoil it here because it is a bit of a spoiler in that scene, but you'll know it when you see it. You'll know what I'm talking about. I also really dug Anthony Mackie in this movie. I wasn't really sure how he would hold his own as a lead. To me, Anthony Mackie is more of a supporting actor, so it was really interesting to see him step up into a leading role in this movie. And I thought that while he doesn't have the same charisma that Chris Evans did as Steve Rogers, nor does his character have the same philosophies as Steve Rogers, I'm really glad with that, though, that they have different philosophies and that they're two totally different characters. And I did think that he is getting there. It's going to take some time to adjust to him as Captain America. I think he definitely needs another movie or two under his belt, whether it's the Avengers or a couple of solo Captain America movies after this. He's definitely here to prove that he can step into the shoes of Captain America and fill those shoes adequately. And I totally believe, even if we are not there yet, that we will get there with Anthony Mackie. Sam Wilson is a bona fide enough, adequate enough Captain America to replace Steve Rogers. That's all I needed. Didn't need it to be something groundbreaking. Didn't need it to be something so profound and powerful. Just needed it to work. It works in this movie. Harrison Ford in this movie as well. Probably the best performance in the entire movie. Harrison Ford is at that age now where he's in his 80s, his movies now, he's just here for the paychecks. He's not here to actually put on like an acting clinic, even though he is trying in all of his movies. The man is 82 years old, and while he's collecting his paychecks at this point in his career, he is still trying. He is so seamless in this movie. It feels like he's been in this role from the beginning. No disrespect to William Hurt, rest in peace, but he fills the shoes really well. It never took me out of the movie that Harrison Ford was playing William Hurt's character. It never felt like I was watching two different characters here. Even though Harrison Ford plays it a little bit differently than William Hurt did, it's still the same Thaddeus Ross that we know from the previous installments in the MCU, just now played by Harrison Ford, and he gives it his all. Dude's been doing it forever. Of course, he's going to act like a grumpy grandpa in some scenes. He's 82 years old. Give the man a break. He was probably the best part of the movie, gave the best performance in the movie, and I really got to commend him for that. I do think there are aspects of this movie, though, that are super duper choppy. The first 45 minutes are rough. I was not vibing with these first 45 minutes at all, and I think that that's because a lot of it, to me, I don't know, definitely the opening action sequence, and I'm going to talk about the action later because the first half with the action, while it was fun to watch, it didn't really do all that much for me until we got to that Tiamat sequence. I'll talk about that in a minute, but the opening action sequence, I could definitely tell was a reshoot. You could tell where the movie is Frankenstein together, which is why I think that this ranks so low on my Marvel Cinematic Universe list. And as I said, it's not a bad movie. The fact that this is actually somewhat good, there are quite a few good elements in this movie, that tells you that a lot. Like, this could have been an absolute train wreck, and it's not. But my point being, yes, the reshoots are there. You can tell where the reshoots are. There's certain action sequences in here. I mean, there's one in this bunker. I mean, I don't know how this was directed, because there's an action scene in a bunker, a character's fighting a bunch of people, and Anthony Mackie's just standing there in the background with no direction. And then it cuts to him, a close-up of him, and he's ready to fight. So it was really jarring. And then Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder, completely useless in the movie. I could tell that that was just a last minute tack on. That was part of the reshoots. You can tell where this movie is stitched together, because there are moments that feel like they are very competently directed. There are moments that feel like they are not very competently directed. I think that Tiamat sequence and the Red Hulk sequence are very well directed by Julius Onah. And honestly, I think that those feel like they are directed by a completely different director. Did the second unit pick that up? And did Julius Onah direct the action in the first 45 minutes or so of the movie? I have no clue, because those were the action sequences I was enjoying the most. That's where I was having the most fun with the movie, as opposed to the action in the first half. Anytime there's a hand-to-hand combat scene in this movie, it looked really jagged, it looked really sluggish, it looked really slow. The choreography just wasn't there, considering that this is part of the same Captain America movies that had the highway fight in The Winter Soldier, the airport fight in Civil War. It's trying so hard to be a blood brother to that, as it should, but it never emulates or captures that type of intensity in the first half, even if you are having fun with it, that those movies do. At least the camera's not fizzing out. That's actually one of my negatives with Winter Soldier and Civil War. As great as the action is in those movies, I don't like how the camera's like fizzling out, and it looks weird. I don't know why the Russos did that. Just a side note. There's moments where I'm just like, that looked really, really, really rough. The plot is a giant mess. It's all over the place. They had so many different ideas. They try to cram so many ideas into this movie. It ties up loose ends from the Eternals, but also from The Incredible Hulk, a movie from 2008. 17 years later, we are finally tying up loose ends from that movie. Only took them long enough. Somebody brought this up on Twitter and said that Kevin Feige seems to be running out of ideas. So I really don't know if combining those two ideas were a good idea for a Captain America movie, because at times this feels more like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk and the Eternals than it does an actual Captain America movie, and that's kind of not a good thing. The supporting characters in this movie absolutely have nothing to do. Shira Haas plays Ruth Bat Seraph, aka Sabra, who had her background changed for controversial reasons in this movie. I'm here to judge the character. I'm not here to get into the political aspects of it. whatever. She's changed in this movie to a former Black Widow agent. She doesn't have all that much to do. I thought Joaquin Torres didn't have all that much to do. And when you really think about it on the surface, Sam Wilson himself, Captain America, doesn't really have all that much to do either. The story surrounding this movie just isn't really all that interesting either. There's so many moving parts of the story. It's got really weak villains with Sidewinder and somebody else who I won't spoil in case you don't know about this character being in the movie. I will talk about that in my spoiler review. Those were the parts of the movie that I could tell were Frankenstein, stitched together with reshoots and trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work, when it turns out that what didn't work before may have actually been better than what works in the final cut of the movie. I know everybody wants me to sit here and give this movie a bad rating, and I can't do that. I have to be honest with you. I think it's okay. It just seems like nowadays, within the last few years or so, I would say from like 2022 to now, if you don't hate an MCU movie, then you're either being paid by Disney or Marvel or something, or you have to have such high praise for it. I don't know. I understand people's complaints of the multiverse saga. I couldn't see it at first. I'm starting to kind of see it, although I do see the stepping stones as to where we're trying to get now with this movie. So I commend it a little bit for that. I just think the movie's really disjointed. It's messy. It's very jumbled. There are moments that feel very jarring. The action's not very good in the first half, but those last 45 minutes or so brought it all home for me. They really made up for the janky, jumbled mess of a movie in the first half with the second half. And I was having a ball in the second half. Love the Red Hulk stuff. Love the Tiamat stuff. There were some heartfelt moments. Harrison Ford's great. I think Anthony Mackie's good. They just don't really give Sam Wilson enough to do in this movie, nor do they really give the supporting characters enough to do. It's a movie that is just fine. And as long as it's just fine, I can live with that. I know that Marvel has had this mountain of greatness before. Everybody is expecting everything from Marvel to be great, but they're a movie studio. They're going to stumble here and there. And right now, they are stumbling quite a bit. I have faith that they'll come back. This happens. Not everything is going to be picture perfect. So the day they do really come back, and everybody thought they were back with Deadpool and Wolverine, it's like, oh, they're so back, and now, oh, they're dead again. But I really don't pay any attention to that. I form my own opinions. As long as I'm entertained to some degree, I can enjoy movies that are very, very messy, like Captain America Brave New World is. I enjoyed Captain America Brave New World with half a bucket of popcorn. Think those last 45 minutes brought it all home for me, made up for the messy, disjointed plotting of the first half. There you go. That is my review of Captain America Brave New World. Spoiler free. I will have a spoiler review for you guys out very soon. Want to know what you think of it. I'm curious to know. It's definitely getting some really, really terrible reviews. It's got the lowest score, I think, of any MCU movie on Metacritic, which is crazy to me. The fact that there were so many reshoots, which is common, by the way, didn't make this movie an atrocity or a monstrosity, and I'm not visibly angry right now, says a lot. Like, the fact that this actually still turned out to be a decent enough product tells you everything. Whatever you may think about it, let me know in the comments. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.